Hey, we are ex-ambassadors, and you're watching Permanent Rain Press.
Hi, I'm Tajia, and today I'm here with ex-ambassadors. How are y'all doing today?
Doing pretty good.
You recently released a new EP called The Reason. What was the writing process like for that?
Well, it was kind of mixed bag. You know, we wrote a lot of it on the road and ended up recording it a bunch just back in Brooklyn at home, or in
the car.
Yeah,
on the
in the
road.
car, or like hotel rooms. It was kind of
Wherever we could.
yeah.
And you also recently posted a message on Facebook about the theme of your EP,
Yeah.
which described a story of starting over after giving up on a dream. How has something like that affected your life, and what do you want your listeners to take away from it?
Well, the whole concept behind the EP kind of came out of all of us talking to our friends, and a lot of our friends went to school for the arts or went to school for whatever, and had these dreams of doing something after school or with their lives, building a career in something, and maybe it didn't work out the way that they wanted it to, and it's a thing that happens a lot. Like there are a lot of people I know, a lot of our friends' parents too, who had dreams of being musicians or actors or artists or whatever, or starting their own businesses or going off on their own somehow and traveling the world, and these things just didn't work out. Life kind of got in the way, and I always felt like those stories were kind of swept under the rug, and a lot of the music that I've been listening to lately, I listen to a lot of hip hop, a lot of R&B, and a lot of it is about like kind of struggling to make it, and like, look at me, I made it all the way up here on my own, and I did it myself, and I worked hard, and it worked for me, and it happened. And there are a lot of people out there who put that work in, who work just as hard as everyone else, and they just don't get lucky, because luck is such a big factor in all of this, and timing too, and
There's a lot more of those stories than there are of the actual success ones.
Exactly. So that's kind of the reason why we wanted the reason. I would want to write The Reason.
And has being visually impaired affected your career at all?
Probably
Only
only
like
in good ways.
bumping
Yeah.
into things,
Well,
yeah,
yeah, all the cuts and bruises, but that would have gone without saying. No, I don't know. The only way it's affected is in a good way, in that it's a novelty thing. People are always interested in that sort of stuff.
Yeah, we use them as a selling point.
Yeah. I'm a good prop.
We hang them in a cage on stage, and they just
People love it. People go crazy.
throw fruit at them.
Yeah, exactly. It's old school entertainment.
Yeah. Casey Harrison's blind keyboard
Yeah.
demonstration. Should have a sign, like a
exactly.
neon sign.
Yeah, flashing above my keyboards.
Yeah.
Exactly.
A lot of people actually don't ever realize that Casey's blind. A lot of people think that you're on drugs or something.
Well, we won't talk about that on this interview, but it's
maybe it's a little bit of both.
But I'm blind too.
But he's blind too. It's not just the drugs.
Yeah, exactly. I swear.
Okay. Anyway, sorry.
I was reading you guys initially bonded over similar musical tastes like punk, rock, and hip hop. How did you get to know each other and decide to make music together?
Well, Noah and I really were the ones who had similar tastes. Casey and I liked completely opposite music.
But we grew up together.
So we grew up together, so we kind of were forced into each other's tastes. I probably wouldn't have gotten to know a lot of the progressive rock stuff that Casey really got into, or jazz stuff that he got into. And Casey probably still hates a lot of the music.
Nah, dude, my tastes have been broadened.
Broadened a little bit.
Yeah.
But Noah and I met in kindergarten. And all of our musical experiences we had together. Like the first time we ever heard a band that we really fell in love with, that was in 6th grade, and I think it was Californication, that Red Hot Chili Peppers record. And we both loved the Chili Peppers. We were massive, crazy, weirdo fans with posters all over our rooms. And grew out of that and started just experimenting with different other genres, and then started playing our own music around middle school. We were really bad. And then Casey came along and made us a little bit better.
I didn't think it wasn't that bad.
It was really bad. Casey came along, and because he was such an incredible musician, I didn't want him in the band at first, because he's my big brother, and I wanted to do something on my own, right? But he would play,
I'd always be jamming with
They'd always be jamming with us, and then finally I was like, all right, pull my arm.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, he made us better, a lot better. And now, then we met Adam in school, and the rest is history.
The Into the Night tour with Imagine Dragons and the Naked and Famous just kicked off on Saturday. But judging from those crowds, what can you expect from the show in Vancouver tonight and the rest of the tour?
It's gonna be wild, man. It's
Yeah.
gonna be crazy.
These are the biggest shows that we've ever played, so it's really, it's cool, and it's a good opportunity for us to, you know, really reach out to a lot of people, especially because, you know, Naked and Famous and Imagine Dragons are both very successful in their own rights, and for us, you know, being this kind of new band, we can do stuff like after the show, you know, I can go to the merch table and hang out and talk to people and meet people, and, you know, won't get like attacked,
Yeah,
you know. But if I do get attacked, that's a good night. That means
That's
it's
true.
good.
Hopefully
But-
we sell a lot of merch.
Yeah, hopefully. It's great, and you know, the Imagine Dragons guys have been so good to us, and they, you know,
We love those
really,
dudes.
yeah, they took us under their wing a little bit, and you know, given us a lot of opportunities that we would not have had they not come into our world. So we're very, very appreciative and thankful.
You guys have been busy as of late, hitting the road with Jimmy Eat World this past summer, and you just played some shows with Panic at the Disco, and the new EP just came out.
And the new EP just came out.
Do you feel overwhelmed in any way, or is this a type of
All
career
the
you
time.
would want to have?
Oh, I mean, we are constantly overwhelmed and constantly questioning whether or not this is a good idea.
But at the same time, we don't have to, you know. Well, yeah, we have to wake up early.
Oh,
every day.
yeah, we have to wake
I was
up
about to say
early.
we don't have to wake up early, but that's
But we
a
wake
lie.
up early and then go to a van.
Yeah, that's
It's like
true.
so bad.
Yeah, that's
I don't know. I mean, being a musician is so hard. You know, it's the hardest job you could possibly ever take, but we love it so much, and it's kind of like the type of thing I was watching some interview with Justin Vernon the other day, and he was saying that the reason he knows that how he knows how important music is to him is by when he wakes up and just hates playing music and just hates it and just doesn't want to do anything related to music, but does it anyway and still does it. There's like this thing in the back of all of our minds, even when I'm working on some song and I can't get the lyrics right, I just keep coming back to it and keep coming back to it and picking away at it slowly and slowly. And Casey does the same thing, you know, with your own production stuff, and all of us, you know, are constantly writing and recording.
It's like working out. I mean, once you've gotten over that initial hump, you just like, you sort of need to do it,
Yeah.
even though it's, you know, wears you out. You know,
Yeah, because it's a muscle.
Yeah.
You gotta, you gotta work it. So.
And you'll also be going on your first headlining tour this spring. How excited are you for that?
Very excited
Yeah, that's
and
gonna be
nervous. You know, it's our first headlining tour, so it's yeah. I mean, it's a club tour. It's going to be a lot of fun, and hopefully there'll be a lot of packed rooms with, you know, a bunch of kids getting all sweaty and weird. It'll be great.
How it should be.
That's how it should be.
What do you think is the largest difference, emotion or atmosphere-wise, between being an opener and a headlining act?
It's massive.
Oh yeah.
Everyone's there to see the headliner. Like, that's the real biggest difference is, you know, people, man, they've devoted their entire night to going to see this specific band, you know, and like, I remember doing that when I was younger, man, and that was the pinnacle of, like, it could be the most fun thing you've done all year, is like coming to this, you know, see this headliner. And as an opener, you know, most of the time, at least for us, you know, people don't really know us very well yet, so we're more in the winning over the crowd phase rather than having that, you know, instant adulation.
Yeah,
kind of
you
thing.
gotta work hard. You know, you gotta work extra hard every night. And but in a lot of ways, it's kind of better because there are no expectations. So if you know, really play your heart out, most of the time you're going to exceed people's expectations, because as an opening act, they expect
don't expect very much.
Yeah, they expect it to be like this kind of malaise, you know, like they don't really expect anything. They kind of are waiting. They're just gonna like have some noise in the background while they, you know, like wait for their band to come on. So if you're good, people get really excited about it, and you know, we've had people come up to us and say like, I hate opening bands. I never come for opening bands, and for some reason tonight I ended up watching you guys, and you were really awesome. I really like your stuff. Here, take my money. I'll buy a CD.
part.
That's the best part.
You guys are signed to Kid in the Corner Records, an
Yes.
imprint off Interscope. How do you think being signed to a label has affected the musical direction you are currently taking in comparison to a few years ago, if at all?
I mean, so much. Alex, you know, is now the kind of overseer on everything that we're doing. You know, he's our producer, and as a producer, you know, it's his job to sort of take a look at what we're doing, amplify it, and then also kind of like cut the fat, you know, which we do a lot of it on our own.
We got better at it.
I'd say 9 times out of 10, we all agree, you know, with the choices that are made, and when we don't agree, you know, we talk about it and we work it out, and at the end of the day, we want to put our trust in him, in Alex, because, you know, he has had so much success, and he, you know, is also the person that we are, I mean, in technical terms, like the person we are hiring to, that's his job to be able to say, no, you're wrong. And it's our job to say, okay, you're right, you're the producer, you know. But that said,
dynamic.
yeah, but that said, you know, there are always discrepancies there, and there are always times when it turns out our instincts are right and his aren't, you know, and that's just the nature of a creative relationship.
Writing music is a messy business.
Yeah, it's a messy business, man. You know, people get upset, and, you know, but then also at the end of the day, you know, your opinion about something can change overnight once you see the way it reacts with people. So it's true.
If each of you could be any ice cream flavor, which would you be and why?
Going for mint chocolate chip.
Mint
you know,
chocolate
that's
chip.
always
I'd be
been my
mint chocolate
favorite.
chip.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's my favorite too.
That's
Yeah.
damn. It's so boring, dude. How
I
can
don't know. I don't know. That's just we grew up.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
So thanks for chatting with
Yeah,
us.
thank you.
Make
It was
sure
our
to
pleasure.
catch X Ambassadors on the Into the Night tour, and be sure to get their new EP, The Reason.